There is no alarm. For nearly all of human history, morning didn't begin with a sound. It began with light. Sleep researchers who studied the Hadza of Tanzania and the sand of the Kalahari found something almost nobody expects. Without electric light, without screens, without a clock anywhere in sight, people still woke reliably around sunrise. And not because anyone told them to. There's no snooze button when your alarm is the sky.
The first hour is slow, painfully slow by modern standards. Frank Marlowe, who lived among the Hadza for years, describes mornings that don't rush. People sit by the fire. They talk. They pick at leftover food from the night before, if there is any. Nobody is sprinting out the door. This is the part that surprises people most. Hunting doesn't start at dawn. It starts whenever it starts. There's no shift to clock into. Richard Lee's classic studies of the Kunsan calculated something that rewrote how anthropologists understood prehistoric life. Most adults worked around 15 hours a week, not 15 hours a day, a week.
Morning, for most of human history, wasn't the start of a grind. It was the slowest, softest part of the day. But it wasn't idle. While the men were still deciding loosely whether today was a hunting day, the women were often already moving. Marlowe's research on the Hadza found that women's foraging, tubers, berries, baobab fruit, provided the bulk of the camp's actual daily calories. Hunting, glamorous as it looks from the outside, fails far more often than it succeeds. Mornings belong to the people doing the less exciting, more reliable work. And morning belonged to children in a way that would look almost unrecognizable now. There was no school bell, no drop-off line. David Lancy's research on childhood across cultures found that young children in groups like this simply folded into mixed-age playgroups. 6-year-olds trailing 8-year-olds, learning skills by watching, with almost no direct adult instruction. Some children, by age 8, were already hunting small game entirely on their own, a detail documented directly in studies of Hadza kids by Alyssa Crittenden. Nobody was managing anyone's morning. It mostly managed itself. Grandmothers were often the ones already at work before anyone else. Kristen Hawk's research into what's now called the grandmother hypothesis found that postmenopausal Hadza women were consistently among the most productive foragers in camp, out gathering food early, often supporting grandchildren directly, decades past the age most modern workplaces would call retired. There was conflict in the mornings too sometimes, but not the kind you're picturing. Christopher Boehm's research on egalitarian groups like these found conflict handled almost entirely through social pressure, gossip, mockery, or simply drifting away from someone difficult, rather than authority stepping in. No morning meetings, no manager smoothing things over, just people and the quiet social physics of 30 familiar faces. By the time the sun was fully up, a hunting party might finally leave, or might not, if nobody felt like it that day. There was no schedule to answer to. Marshall Salins, in his influential essay on what he called the original affluent society, argued that groups living this way weren't poor by circumstance. They had, in a very real sense, simply wanted less, and so needed to work less to get it. Here's the uncomfortable part. Your body still expects this morning. The slow wake-up tied to light, not sound. The lack of urgency. The unhurried food. The unstructured start. Almost none of it survived the last several thousand years of settled life, and especially not the last 200. We didn't invent the alarm clock, the commute, or the rushed morning because we needed them to be human. We invented them after we invented agriculture, ownership, and eventually, jobs someone else owns. For 300,000 years, morning was slow because nothing was chasing anyone. We are still those people. We just stopped waking up like them.